What if I told you that you had the key to understanding your past life right in your natal chart? Today I'm starting a new series dedicated to deciphering past lives in astrology. First topic is South Node sign. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. I enjoy creating content for you guys, and I would appreciate your support in the shape of likes, comments, subscription, and pressing that notification bell. Feel free to watch another one of my videos or say thank you by buying me a tea or a coffee. I am thankful for every single one of you, and thank you so much for just being here and watching my videos. It means the world. If you'd like to work with me, you can find my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, and on there you're welcome to book a reading. You can get a natal chart reading, which is a more general overview of your chart, your gifts, your talents, your challenges. A predictive reading, look at the year to come, get a reading right around your birthday, or a relationship reading. All of that at anastasiadoesastrology.com. On my website, you can also pick up a variety of products I create. For example, there is my 2025 planner to help you prepare for the year to come. It is full of insights, calendars, important transits, journaling pages, new moon and full moon prompts, and so much more. Anything you need to make your year better, as well as my candle and oil, as well as bracelet creations. I work with astrology in a proactive way, trying to capture the most important benevolent energies. And so, for example, my Mercury candles, this is Mercury in Virgo 2, can be highly supportive anytime Mercury is retrograde. For anyone struggling with communication and understanding, if you feel misunderstood, if you feel like you have an important message to deliver, a book to write, an email to send, Mercury creations could be perfect for that. More and other things are all at anastasiadoesastrology.com. So today we're going to talk about past lives. And like I said, a lot of it is basically at your fingertips in your natal chart. I'm starting the series by looking at the South Node sign. I'm also going to do South Node house and South Node connection to planets. So you can check out my videos for those as well, especially if this video has been out for a while. So first of all, how do you find your South Node sign? The way you do it is by going to astro.com and choosing an extended chart selection. And over there, you want to make sure that you set the house system to whole signs, just because I like to do it. And you click on descending node. And then when you pull up the chart, the descending node is actually your south node. So true node is your north node and descending node is the south node. And so in the chart, it will tell you the sign of your descending node. And so then by looking at that sign, you can determine a little bit about your past life. So first of all, lunar nodes, north and south node, a little bit of the background. You may have heard me talk about it already because I talk about it every time there is an eclipse or when I did my north and south node series. By the way, you might want to check those out because there is even more information on each individual sign. But lunar nodes are not planets. They are points of intersection of the ecliptic, the solar orbit, and the lunar orbit. And so the two intersect, and the north node is actually the highest point, and the south node is the lowest point of the intersection. So, the north node has this energy of like growing and increasing and sort of climbing towards something, versus south node has the energy of letting go, losing, releasing, and things like that. And so in astrology, north node very much represents the direction of your life or your hunger for things, and south node represents where you're coming from, where you've been. So if you know the sign of your south node, you can look back and know quite a lot about your past life. And so I'm gonna break down the 12 zodiac signs and give you tips on who you may have been in your past life. Of course, a lot will depend on the house it's placed in, the aspects it's making, the planets right next to it. That's why if you'd like a more specific, personalized answer, I recommend booking a reading on my website, anastasiadeciphering.com, so I can give you clarity, and I can sort of be as specific as possible. So starting with Aries South Node. If you were born with Aries on your South Node, it indicates that you're coming from a multitude of lifetimes where you had to be alone and you had to be in some kind of like stressful, difficult, war zone type environment, right? You're someone who has overcome a lot in past lifetimes. You might have literally been a soldier. You may have been a fighter, right? A general, someone in military, because Aries South Node is a sign of you having a lot of courage, right? And so in order to have that courage, you could have had to have you likely faced a lot of challenges. And so you bring this energy in your present life, and it's also quite likely that you are a fighter in your first half of the life, right? So being a physical fighter, maybe you were a boxer in your past life, or being a gym teacher, somebody who was very athletic, being a firefighter, right? Aries, sign of fire. You may have fought with your head. You may actually even have markings or scars on your head, or maybe you've injured your head in the present life. But it's very much the life that required a lot of leadership, a lot of courage, a lot of independence. You were not afraid to go at things alone and to handle sort of traumatic and challenging and difficult environments, and you're not afraid of handling people and leading people to battle, right? And so part of this life is, of course, is for you to learn to chillax and relax and sort of take it easy and slowly as much as possible, and learn to rely on other people and not always seek out stressful environments, because you might be naturally kind of going for that in this lifetime. If you're looking for personal guidance and you want me to be even more precise and specific by looking at your natal chart and telling you who you were in the past life, or helping you understand your present life, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com so we can dive in and discuss it all in more depth. And pick up my 2025 astrology planner if you haven't yet, to help you have a beautiful year. If you are a Taurus, if you were born with Taurus South Node, this is a sign of you being a farmer in the past life, or someone who was very close to the ground, very sort of earthy and sensual, and you can be literally someone, you could have been someone who literally worked with earth or worked in the garden, and maybe you were someone who lived close to land or dealt with animals and took care of animals. You could have also been, because Taurus is quite a sensual sign, quite a grounded sign, you could have maybe been one of the aristocrats next to the king, somebody who gets to enjoy a lot of benefits and a lot of pleasures of life. And as a result, you're most likely have developed this steadiness and this ability to make people feel welcome and comfortable and nurture other people and take care of other people. But what also could have happened in your past life is that some of your groundedness didn't work out for you. It could have been that, your house got burned down, or your farm got flooded, or something happened, something that tested you. And so in this lifetime, you're learning to transform things and to not be too indulgent and too attached, and because that's the danger, I think, because you bring that awareness of working hard and committing to things from your past life. So you need to make sure that in this lifetime you're not getting too stuck in situation. But you might also be someone, like I mentioned, if you were an aristocrat in the past, or you were you may have been a singer, you may have been someone with a lot of creative talent, a lot of sort of artistic talent, and so you as well could have carried over those gifts into the present life, where you naturally have you naturally have a creative talent that is a blessing that you bring kind of into this life. If you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to look at your natal chart and tell you what else I see about your past life, or talk about your relationships, your career, your year coming up, anything else you might be interested in. Moving on to those born with Gemini South Node. If you were born with the Gemini South Node, you could have been like a local jester, right? Someone who's like a messenger, someone who worked, maybe you worked at the post office, or you worked at a news station or a newspaper station. You maybe dealt with a lot of people. You were kind of like running around, and you knew everyone, you connected with everyone, you talked to everyone, you know, people would share their stories with you, and you would be like a local gossip on some level, right? So of course, you know, there are benefits to this that suggest that you have developed very strong communication skills. You are very social, you know how to speak, you know how to tell stories, you know how to like entertain people, and you're also very adaptable. So this ability to kind of get along with people and connect with other people and tell stories has served you to be able to, like, you know, you can talk to anyone, you can understand anyone. You're maybe gifted with language skills where you can naturally pick up the dialects, the accents, the languages. You may be gifted in writing. But then the problem is that a lot of times this talking and your mind is like overly stimulated, and so you're learning to actually slow down and to find more of a sense of a purpose instead of just spreading yourself too thin. And so you're learning to kind of, you know, not just talk about everything and anything, but instead talk about things that are important and use your communication skills to like kind of make a difference, let's say. If you're looking for personal guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can book a natal chart reading, a predictive reading, a relationship one, and pick up any of my products like my planners or candles on there. I highly recommend my Jupiter in Taurus for you because your North Node is in Sagittarius. If you are the beautiful Cancer South Node, for those born with Cancer on their South Node, you have been a caretaker in the past. You have been a mother of 10 children. You have been a nurse at the battlefield, maybe. You have been a cook of the monastery. You have been this person that just took care of other people, that other people came to for advice, that they came to for food, that they came to for refuge. So you have been able to welcome people and take them in with both of your arms, and you felt, you know, like you're like just, your heart is so full of compassion and understanding. And in this lifetime, you may be easily driven to tears, you're maybe more emotional, more like supportive, right? You may have been, you know, because of that sort of past life history of being a nurturer and a parent, you may find yourself like in this lifetime just immediately going for being a parent and having dogs and sort of taking care of other people. Of course, the situation in which you are the one taking care of others and you don't get much care and tenderness in return, or you feel like your kindness is being abused, might be present in this current life. Because with your North Node in Capricorn, you're meant to learn how to take this compassion and apply it in a constructive, boundaried, healthy way. Please share how this resonates. Do you feel like that's who you are? And if you're looking for more, you have other questions you'd like me to answer, book a one-on-one consultation at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions and give you more precise and clear information about your chart exactly. For the lovely Leo South Node people, you were a king in the past life or an aristocrat. You were somehow special. You were wealthy, or you were talented, or you were known. You could have been like a count or a countess, a prince, like something about your life made you special, even if it's just your hair, or even if it's your jokes, or your like something about you was unique. And so in this lifetime, you may have this sort of memory of being special. You may have this kind of, like inner grace and charm and generosity and sort of nobility to you. Like you may have, always wanted to be the best version of yourself, and like you crave to do that in this lifetime. And you also, I think in your past life, you had like a very strong sense of like duty and authority and sort of being there for other people and guiding other people. And so early in life, you will be having that sense of duty as well. You will have that sense of like having to be a certain way, and having, like, because you remember what it's like to be liked, you remember what it's like to be the star, you may actually fall in the trap of trying to be liked, right? And like kind of focusing too much on what other people think of you. Because back in your past life, you were so known and people kind of examined everything you do and they paid attention to you. But maybe in this lifetime, you're not as known, but you have the memory of that. And so the lesson here is kind of disengage and untangle yourself from your past life tendencies to worry about others. Another thing that could have been happening in your past life is some romantic dramas. Like you could have been, this like aristocrat or this countess that took a poor person and made it her play toy or something. And so like there was some kind of element of like people whispering and talking about you. And so in this life as well, you might run into a certain amount of relationship drama just because in your past life you're familiar with it. And so you're learning to like not just disengage from wanting to be liked, but also disengage from that tendency to go for things and situations that will stir drama, and instead try to find peace in a more rational and objective way of living and approach to life. If you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to offer personal guidance, look at your natal chart, and describe what I see that is very unique and specific to you. For those born with Virgo on the South Node in Virgo, you are someone who was a servant in the past. And servant sounds very negative, but you could have been someone who, like, maybe you were taking care of other people, but taking care of other people in a role that required a lot of minute work, that required a lot of sort of tinkering and cleaning and rubbing the pots and taking care of things. Maybe you were gathering the herbs. You were just caught in this like very much material, physical labor that you had to do in order to achieve your goals. And so there was a lot of, like, I think of Virgo's South Node as like Cinderella. You had to separate grains of rice, right, based on color. So you would have been someone who was like maybe somehow enslaved even. You could have been abused on some level, and like you had to focus a lot on just like basic survival. And so you had to focus on like getting enough food and, getting enough light, or getting clothes that are very like at least clean or something. So you could have been in this place of just like giving all of your attention to these like very kind of minute things. And so you have also learned the attitude of like hard work and perfectionism and perseverance, and sort of, never giving up until the things are right, because maybe you had someone in the past life that actually stood over you, right, and made sure that you did things right. So in this lifetime, you come in, of course, with this knowledge of taking care of other people and handling a lot. But what the goal is for you is to develop more trust, is to learn to surrender, is to learn to rely on the universe and know that, there's a possibility for things to be different, and sort of learning to let go, learning to release the anxiety about the past, and trusting the universe and people around you and circumstances trusting them to like kind of help you. Please share how this resonates. I know quite a decent amount of South Node in Virgo people, and there's definitely like one of them, she has very little trust in the immune system. Like she always has to take drugs or has to take her child to the doctor immediately. There's almost like this, like a lot of fears, a lot of anxiety, I think, that comes with this placement. If you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can also pick up my planners, my candles on there, and get a one-on-one consultation that will be tailored and unique to you and very kind of specific and lovely. For those born with Libra South Node, as is me, you come into this life with the knowledge of relationships. So in the past lives, you could have been very much relationship oriented, right? So you could have been maybe even, I wonder, like there's like, it's a relationship oriented, but I sort of hesitate to say someone's wife. I feel like it's more, maybe you had to deal with people as a judge, or you even had to like run I don't know, home for women, or you had to be the person that like, you know, you had to be the one that other people came to. And so you had to be this diplomat, and you had to please other people. You had to make sure everyone is in agreement and in understanding. And so in a way, at the end, you ended up losing yourself. You ended up losing your personal goals because you were so focused on pleasing other people. It's also, of course, possible that you, in the past life, you were just so focused on the love story, sort of like a Juliet type energy or Romeo type energy, that you forgot about the silliness of, you know, of what you're doing. It's like someone who like sacrifices everything for love without realizing that the love is nothing but like a ghost, right? Or it's like not even fully fledged. So this tendency to give up yourself for other people, to kind of care for other people, maybe, you know, being a mediator, focusing on like keeping peace in your home, making sure that everyone is happy, putting on a front, kind of always being a certain way, always being cheery and pleasant and kind of harmonious so your feelings do not upset other people, is your past life tendency. And it is quite likely that early in life, North Node officially kind of matures at 42. So early in life, you might have this tendency to avoid confrontation, to be people pleaser, to rely on other people, to ask other people for advice even when maybe you don't need it. And so as you get older, you're actually learning more and more to develop confidence with being alone, to develop sort of trust in your own judgment, to take risks, to even if you are so hungry for relationships or so comfortable with relationships, the goal is to learn to be okay with speaking your mind, to learn to be more independent, to learn to be unafraid of things not working out, right? Like going more in the direction of Aries, where you have the courage to trust that things will be fine, that you have the courage to trust your own judgment. All of that will be important. And like learning to say no, right? Like learning to say no is such a big lesson with this placement, I think. And the more you do it, not of course out of just boredom, but the more you do it, the more in tune with yourself you may become. If you're looking for personal guidance, you have questions about your South North Node, your career, your relationship, your life, you want to understand yourself better, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can also book a relationship consultation or a year ahead reading to find out what's coming up for you. And definitely check out my beautiful candles, my planners. My website is full of exciting products that I pour a lot of love and attention into. Moving on to the Scorpio South Node. So this one is like a village witch or a witch in general. So like in your past life, you would have been a mystic. You would have been a shaman. You would have been a sex therapist, a healer. You would have been someone who's gone through a lot of stress and complications and difficulties, and you may have had a lot of painful experiences. You may have lived through a war, or like a lot of being lifted up, being thrown, like losing your parents, losing your connections, losing things that you're familiar with. It's sort of like lives that have been very traumatic, very difficult, very wounding for yourself. And so even in this lifetime, early in life, you may be dealing with something like that. Like my grandfather had displacement, and he was very young when World War II was happening, and his family went through a lot of loss. And so naturally, you've developed in this lifetime or in the past lifetime, you would have developed a lot of doubt and suspicion. You would have, in order to survive, you completely had to develop those kind of things. So that's part of like what you come into this world with. Like you come with the immense intuition that comes from like that past life, survival ability, knowledge of chaos, ability to handle anything that life throws at you. But you're actually meant to learn to have a little bit of peace. You're learning how to relax and how to trust, and how to know that even if there is wars going on and things are difficult and people are dying, you can still enjoy being in a peaceful garden, and you can still listen to the song of a bird, and you can still put your fingers into the ground or hang out with people, sit by the fire, people you love, sit by the fire, and be sort of grounded and connected. And so this is, I think, a very like potent placement for someone, like I said, who was like a shaman, a therapist, even like philosopher, or like a witch, a psychic. And so like you bring a lot of these qualities, and you bring a lot of like patience when it comes to tough situations, and a lot of awareness. And of course the goal is to, like I said, learn to have some more balance. If you're looking for more information, you want to understand this and other topics in your life better, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. If you have South Node in Sagittarius, in the past life, you were a conquistador. You were a priest that went around spreading Christianity or whatever it might be. You were like a fighter, sort of, Alexander the Great, who conquered the rest of the world. You would have been, what other examples might be here? Like adventurer, a pirate, right? A pirate is a good example. A teacher, like I mentioned the priest, but like someone who's like a philosopher, someone who like has known a lot and maybe spoke their truth and spoke their knowledge. And it's also highly likely that in your past life, speaking your truth and speaking your knowledge maybe cost you your life. Maybe it cost you, it cost you your friendships. It cost you happiness. And so in this lifetime, you sort of, as a really young kid or a young person, you have this like know-it-all quality. You know a little bit about everything. You speak your mind with zeal and passion and bluntness of the Sagittarius energy, right? But of course, once again, because in the past life you had this experience where your beliefs cost you your life, or they cost you your friendship, or they cost you happiness, there is that also understanding and maybe like inner awareness that you cannot outrun your problems, and that you cannot know everything, and that sometimes your beliefs can be flawed, and it will take you some time to understand it, right? Like I said, in the past life, you were very determined to tell other people how to live their life or guide them. And so here you're learning to be more like Gemini. You're learning to open yourself up to other people's perspectives, and you're also learning that not everything has to be a debate, a fight, an opportunity to prove something to other people, that there are also moments to just relax and have a chit chat and not try to convince other people of the ultimate truth. If you're looking for personal guidance, you have questions about your natal chart, your relationship, or your year coming up, book a reading at Anastasia.astrology.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. For those born with their South Node in Capricorn, you are someone who was in power in your past lives. You were a leader, and not just a leader, but someone who knew how to distribute work, how to prioritize things and work as a team leader. You were like very aware. You had very strong boundaries. You could have been an authority figure, like I said, a business owner, someone in the government, someone in the military. But if in the case with Aries South Node, we talk more about like a warrior, sort of a lone soldier. In your case, it's more like a general. It's more someone who directs other soldiers and just makes sort of these strategic decisions. You could have also been the father of a big family, sort of like patriarch. And so you have done a lot of work. You have been very disciplined, very kind of like even, in this lifetime, kind of going towards having a job, having stability is very familiar to you, very much like you might easily find yourself in positions of like managers and project leaders, anything where you need to guide other people and tell other people what to do and who to be. And also, like in the past life, because you worked so hard, you have learned that things don't come easily and that things require a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And so in this lifetime, you're also very much committed to climbing the ladder, to not giving up, to doing everything it takes. And you may lose the other side of life. You may forget at times that there is beauty in feeling deeply, in connecting deeply, in nurturing yourself, nurturing other people. And so that's the other side of the coin, and the direction you're going towards is actually learning to slow down and kind of, build yourself a home and tend to your heart and not just always be a leader or like a president. So like, learning to self-love, to love yourself and nurture yourself, and building family-centered connections is very much the medicine here. If you're looking for more, book a reading at Anastasia.astrology.com. We can talk about your past lives, about your current life, your natal chart, your year coming up, and more. If you were born with South Node in Aquarius, your past life likely has been like a French Revolution. You would have been someone who was very outspoken, very unique, very rebellious. You had strong ideas, you had strong opinions, and you weren't afraid to defend them. You would have, expressed yourself and spoke for your truth, and you may have died for your truth, right? Like you had to be the first one to break away from outdated structures and maybe innovate. You could have been a scientist. You could have been someone who told the world that the earth is not flat, right? Something about you was like unique. And because it's a Saturn ruled sign, there's also a high chance that people have not liked you or people have crucified you for your beliefs, right? So there is something that you've like suffered. You've put your life on the altar of your beliefs, and you rebelled, and you like almost like, I think of this Prometheus, classic like Prometheus archetype, right? Where you were so kind of like human, but also detached from humanity, and you did work that was helping other people. And so you come into this life with this uniqueness to you. Something about you makes you stand apart. It may be the way you look. It may be the way you speak. It may be your beliefs. It may be your rational construct, right? Like people might be shocked at times at how detached and quirky and sort of outspoken you are. Like something about you sets yourself apart. Maybe it's even your mind and your brilliance and your mental kind of prowess. You may be keeping up that tendency to think about other people, think about the world and making the world better. And the shadow side is, of course, you know, that tendency to be alone, to be crucified for your beliefs, and to not get the recognition you deserve. And so with Leo being your North Node, the medicine and the goal in this lifetime is to learn to be in the spotlight, to learn to be a little bit more self-entitled, in like the healthiest ways, right? Like to be a little bit more selfish and to step into the light and know that just like anybody else, you also deserve recognition for your knowledge and gifts and talents. If you're looking for personal guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have and offer feedback, support, anything that you need. anastasiadoesastrology.com. Now, if you were born with your South Node in Pisces, South Node in Pisces individuals have this very much generous soul. You may have been in the past lifetime, it's interesting because it's similar to Virgo in terms of serving others, but it's so much more about like serving others in a spiritual way where you gave a lot to others, you guided them through loss, through death. You could have been a healer in the past lifetime. You know, like maybe I'm even thinking of like a Buddhist, like Buddha, right? Someone who have transcended their identity, someone who have like killed their ego. You could have also, quite honestly, you know, on the other side of the coin, you could have been living addictive lifetimes. You could have been someone who struggled with alcohol or escapism. And a lot depends on like, you know, what your life was. Maybe you were kind of like forced in that situation in like an addictive lifestyle. But for one reason or another, your sense of self has been like destroyed and your connection to your body has been destroyed because like your goals were connected to something else, right? Like whether it is because you were hailing other people or because you were seeking bliss or because you were like trying to understand the world, like it wasn't about you. It was so much more about cosmos and people and healing. Maybe you were like a priest, you were like listening to other people's problems. So like one thing or the other led you to lose your identity. And so you come in this lifetime with the knowledge of like giving. You're very generous. You're very, maybe even very creative quite naturally. And on some level, not very grounded, right? Like with your South Node in Pisces, you might be easily kind of like avoiding things, wanting to run away from things, wanting to escape things. And so with Virgo in your North Node in Virgo, you're actually learning to ground yourself and to be more present and more body aware, right? And to build your ego to like a healthy level where you're not leading life of destruction and sort of choosing unhealthy patterns. Please share how this resonates, if this describes you, and if you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to analyze your chart, talk about your year coming up or your relationship. And thank you for being here. Like I said, this is video 1 out of at least 3. I might continue with sort of synastry and compatibility past life energy, but definitely check out the other videos, and thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. Please subscribe if you haven't pressed that button yet, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.